All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Mainly Hoops podcast, where we're continuing on with the Big Ten transfer portal. We're covering Washington tonight. Washington made quite a bit of moves in the transfer portal. We're going to start off with Cody. What's your favorite move they made this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's up for debate. I think it would be between Wesley Yates and Desmond Claude, who were teammates last year at USC. But I for sure think it's Wesley Yates. I mean, he emerged as arguably USC's best player in the second half of last season. I believe he averaged, 14 for the season. But the last 20 games of the year, he averaged 17.9. I think he has true three-level scoring ability with some pretty high upside in pretty much every area. He was just a 39th percentile rim scorer last season on pretty high volume, but I think his size and athleticism should allow him to have success around the basket in his sophomore year. I mean, a 30% free throw attempt rate is pretty solid for a freshman guard at that. He was 44% from the field in the mid-range, which is in the 79th percentile, and he was a 44% three-point shooter, and he showed competence off the catch and off the bounce, but particularly off the catch. I mean, he was a 100th percentile in catch and shoot efficiency at USC last season. The shot release is a little bit awkward at times. Like, he kind of releases out in front of his body, but it was pretty consistent. And I mean, the numbers don't lie. He shot 44% as a freshman. So I don't expect him to shoot 44% every year, but I mean, for being in year one of college basketball, I thought that was pretty impressive. Kind of unsure what he is defensively. Didn't really have a ton of responsibility there, but he at least has some switchability, and I think his size is going to allow him to guard pretty much any type of perimeter option with some competency. So I'm pretty high on Wesley Yates. I mean, the year two leap is definitely in store, and I could see him in a faster paced offense getting closer to 18, 19 points a game for the whole year.
Marcus, let's hear from you. Do you agree that Yates is their best get, or?
Yeah, I do. And like Cody said, I think as the season wore on, not just in the scoring department, but also in his playmaking ability, like his assist rate ended up at 12% for the season last year. But I think as the season went on, as he took on a bigger role, his playmaking got much, much better. So his ability to score at all three levels as well as make plays, I think makes him more valuable of a get, especially, he's going to be a sophomore, makes him more valuable than Desmond Claude. Desmond Claude's a good player. Don't get me wrong. Good passer, almost 26% assist rate, turns it over a little bit too much. Sometimes he just likes to dance with it too much, and he's not a 3-point shooter. He shot 30% on low volume. So a lot of the time he's like dancing with it in that mid-range area where there's sometimes a lot of bodies, like guys coming to like back tip. So, the one thing about Desmond Claude, though, he can really get it going in the mid-range, super crafty in the mid-range. He can kind of take over a game. There are a few games I remember watching last year where he several possessions in a row, like just kind of willed his way in that like 10 to 15 foot area and knocked him down, or, got fouled or something. So he has the ability, with his veteran presence to take over games. But I think Wesley Yates certainly has the most upside of any get they got.
Are there any other transfers that stand out to you guys, or anyone else we kind of want to talk about, Cody?
Yeah, I think Kamari Peterson is interesting. I think he can pretty much fit in with any offense. I think his on and off the ball qualities as a perimeter scoring option are absolutely there. I mean, he had less usage in his second year at East Tennessee State. His first year was a little bit less efficient, but he moved off the ball and had a lot more success. I mean, he shot at 42% from three last season, so it was pretty impressive. I think, the shooting across this roster is fairly impressive. He has a quality spot up game. I mean, his repeatable mechanics, high release. His shot gets a little bit flat off the bounce from three, but I think with guys like Yates and Claude initiating for him a little bit, I don't think that's going to be all that much of an issue. I kind of like him as a two-way impact as well. He's a bigger guard for a guy that's probably going to guard a lot of point guards with how this roster is shaping out right now. So yeah, I think Kamari Peterson's kind of a value get for the Huskies.
Marcus, anyone you want to add in there?
I agree to his point there. He's going to be an elite floor spacer. He should be anyway. Not great off the dribble, like Cody said. I think 24th percentile off the dribble. But he's not going to need to do that as much, I don't think, with Yates and Claude being on the ball so much. So if he's going to be out there as a floor spacer, like defenses are going to have to make a decision. They're either going to leave and he's going to get a shot, or they're going to stick on, and Yates and Claude are going to get to their spots and score the ball. So the only other one I wanted to mention was Jacob Ognisevich coming from Lipscomb. Not really, like, he averaged 20 last year in the ASUN. I'm not really sure how much I really like him here. As I've done some watching, like, he's got a bit of a slow release from three. He shot 41% last year on 119 attempts. I just don't know, like, how superb of an athlete he is for the Big Ten. So that's like my main concern with him. I think he's certainly going to help them. But I don't know. Like, he's obviously going to have a much lesser role here than he did at Lipscomb.
How do we think these guys fit into the system? And do we think it got better or worse, Washington as a whole, this year? Cody, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think they definitely got better. I just think the offensive talent is much better across the board. The defense is kind of in question at this point in time. Just like the rim protection isn't really all that there. And just to touch on Ognisevich a little bit, I mean, yeah, his primary scoring duties are going to be taken away. I mean, he was pretty efficient in the post-up game in the ASUN. The ASUN is a pretty terrible defensive league, honestly. And so he's going to have to show more off-the-ball qualities. And he has a catch-and-shoot game, but movement shooting isn't really anything that he's going to be providing. He's not going to be running off screens. He's just slow foot speed overall. But, you know, I'm really not all that high on Desmond Claude's game either. I think he needs to be a primary initiator to be at his best, but I'm really not all that high on his initiating skills in general. I mean, he scores it at the rim at a high level. He gets to the free throw line, but his perimeter game outside of like the 10 to 12 foot range is a bit concerning. And like Marcus said, he turns the ball over a ton. And if Yates turns into the number one option, Claude playing more off the ball is even worse for me, just because like I said, he doesn't shoot the ball that well. He's not comfortable outside of the paint, or really outside of that 10 to 12 foot range. So, but to your question, I definitely think they got better just because the offensive talent is far better than it was last year.
Marcus, what are your thoughts?
I definitely think they got better too. There's so much more offensive talent. They've got, I think, legitimately, like, depending on how the freshmen coming in are, they got what, 3 or 4 stars. Then they got the transfers. They got guys coming back. Like, I think they could have like a sneaky deep-ish rotation, depending on how guys fit in. So I think they definitely got better. I think they could maybe make the tournament, like back end, maybe. I know Torvik is kind of low on them. They have them 5th from the bottom, but I think they could get in with the talent they have. But obviously, like, that's kind of their ceiling. There's no like top of the Big Ten aspiration or realisticness here. So I think maybe the tournament, and then they're probably like more likely to miss it. But I'm kind of rooting for them to make the tournament.
Cody, let's go back to you real quick and just get a ceiling before we wrap things up on the Huskies.
Yeah, and I mean, Danny Sprinkle has surprised people in the past. I mean, he made the tournament, 2 or 3 years in a row at Montana State, surprised everyone at Utah State in that 1 year that he was there. Obviously a disappointing year last season, but there's way more talent on this roster. And with all the scoring talent that he does have, and a fast-paced system that really emphasizes getting to the rim in transition, and if not, really emphasizing rim in 3 and getting to the free throw line, it's a pretty easy system to play in, especially with all this talent. And I do think, I mean, the ceiling is somewhere in the tournament. I'd say 8 or 9 seed is probably the ceiling. I do think there are some major concerns defensively, particularly with rim protection, and the perimeter options aren't the greatest. I think they're a little bit better than some people perceive them. But like guys like Frank Kepnang, like how long is he going to be able to stay on the floor? He's been injured basically his entire career. Hopefully he stays healthy because he's a really talented rim protector. He's really athletic. And so that's kind of going to be a swing piece there. Floor is, the defense bottoms out and they end up being a bottom 5 team in the Big Ten. So yeah, that's kind of my stance on that. I hope they make it as well because they're going to be a really fun team to watch.
Any final thoughts for the Huskies?
No, I've said my piece. I'm looking forward to watching and seeing how these pieces fit together, I think.
All right. We'll wrap.
What I'll say real quick is I think Wesley Yates gets to 20 points per game in this really fast system. And a guy like Des Claude is going to end up taking a back seat, being closer to 13 or 14. I think even Kamari Peterson could be the second leading scorer on this team. I'm pretty high on those two pieces next year.
All right, I have that in the notes. 20 points per game for Wesley Yates. We got it in there. All right, we'll wrap things up for the Huskies. As always, thank you for listening to the Mainly Hoops podcast.